Honestly, that's a pretty cool twist. What's better than one God Nadeko? Let's have two God Nadekos. Honestly, episode 4 of Monogatari series, off season and monster season, really cool episode. I will admit the beginning part was, I could do without the beginning part, even though we did have a little change of costume for Nadeko, and I think the new outfit looks super cute. I think we've seen that in some of the promos and whatnot. Even Yotsuki gets a change of outfit, but yeah, I think most of the nugget of the good stuff is really at the end. I think there's a couple moments in the later part that really has me raising a question mark. Obviously, the end comment, I think, is the big one. The mention of the fact that she has exercised 2 of them, and she's essentially 3 individuals, which kind of makes me believe that now that she has exercised these individual Nadekos, she has the ability to use them. Like, I guess her initial summoning of them wasn't enough to have control over them, because obviously they ran all over the place. But I think it's implying because she now has exercised them, because she has now defeated them, she can use them in battle, which I think would be really cool. Now, the other thing that it kind of does imply is the idea that she has the strength of those 3 because she defeated them. And the idea that it's not so much that she has 3 individual selves now that she can utilize, but just the fact that you did good. Like, you are that strong because you defeated them. That means you're better than them, and thus you are 3 individuals. I don't know. I think it's more implying the later because, yeah, if Yotsuki's going to say that in order to bolster her, it could be that she's trying to encourage her, but I think it's really more the fact that she now has those tools at her disposal. She is going to be 3 against 2, which I think is cool, which she's going to need because, again, it does imply, and I don't think they would go so far their way in order to, I guess, suggest this without actually doing it, which is, I think, we're going to get a God Meek Nadeko, which I think is going to be super cool to have 2 God Nadekos fighting at the same time. Yeah, I think that whole part right there was super fascinating. But yeah, the beginning part, like I said, I didn't care so much for, and that's really just her facing off against Wrath Nadeko. It seems like the reason why she went there is probably, like she says, Nadeko says, I never wanted to come back here again. So if this Wrath Nadeko is just afraid of being put to forced labor, the best place to hide is going to be Araragi's house. And even more so, in the room that it seems that Nadeko doesn't want to go to. I've been here several times before. I never thought I found myself back here. And now here she's here again, and here's Wrath Nadeko. Now, yeah, I'm not so much for the Wrath Nadeko with the crazy Yakuza voice. That's a voice that I never really cared to have come out of. I don't remember if she ever used that voice back when she was Wrath Nadeko, because yes, Wrath Nadeko did go crazy on the class and the teacher, but she never really did for Araragi. She was kind of very much so stuck in that middle point of, yes, feeling the regret for what she did and breaking out and all that kind of stuff. And additionally, yes, kind of going towards the direction of becoming God Nadeko. But yeah, it was still, I didn't care much to hear her say that. But it was interesting, though. I did like the fact that she did utilize a trick in order to stop Wrath Nadeko by putting the paper in there and forcing her to attack it. But it was also interesting that she was able to remove the different chisels by making art of it. Now, I can understand if the actual chisels are a part of the original art, so simply drawing it will bring it in. But if that was the case, then just using it on Wrath Nadeko would have been enough. So it's implying that possibly Nadeko can essentially draw things and seal them away in paper, no matter if it is part of the original drawing or not. Which means that, yeah, technically if she wanted to get rid of an object, she can just do that. Which is very interesting. It's a very interesting power of hers, which does technically play into what happens later on when Yotsuki's like, I didn't want to call Gain because I'll probably get rid of you. It is more so building up the idea that Nadeko herself is really powerful. And the more that they seem to have this situation kind of playing out, the more she's becoming seen as a threat. And so it is kind of interesting to see that Yotsuki is like, no, I didn't want to call Gain. Yeah, because she doesn't want to expose that she's a failure. She did that before with the whole slug thing. She doesn't want to show that she's or Tsukiji, sorry, doesn't want to show that she's a failure. And yes, technically, they're going to get rid of you. And yeah, it did technically imply that Yotsuki sees her as a friend. Now, I don't know if she's lying there. And again, that could be the same as the later comment and how powerful she is, that she's 3 Nadekos. She could just be kind of fluffing up Nadeko. But again, it is sort of implying that this girl's getting really, really powerful. And I don't know, it's more so now than ever really flagging to me that there is going to be something coming up here that they're going to see Nadeko as a threat. Either that or that Nadeko is going to be involved in something to fight something. And I don't know how that's going to play out, but I'm starting to fear for my girl that she's becoming too powerful, that there's something's going to come up. Every time there's a big, powerful thing building up, what happens? They come after the individual. Again, the whole thing with Shinobu and Koyomi Araragi, it ended up building up into something where somebody finally said enough is enough, and they come after her. So I don't want that, but it's kind of flagging that. But no, anyways, yeah, they had the fight, tore her outfit. She gets her new outfit, super cute. Gets a phone call from Shinjukahara. Why did Shinjukahara call? That's the biggest question mark I have. Yet technically, it's weird that Nadeko answers it to introduce herself, and then she freaks out because she hears Shinjukahara, which I'm guessing is a play off of. I don't know. Nadeko has technically sort of had a fear of Shinjukahara, so it technically makes sense. I mean, that whole situation with her becoming God Nadeko, Shinjukahara calling, being very crafty and kind of talking her down against killing Araragi and Shinobu by giving that time gap there. But I don't know. It just seemed odd that Shinjukahara called. Why did she call? Araragi's not there. Was she calling to get a hold of, Tsukihi or something? Well, she's probably at school right at that moment. Yeah, school's going on, so she's at school. Why did she call? I'm very curious, and this may be something that might come up later on. Maybe possibly Wrath Nadeko had called her or used the phone, and Shinjukahara found out, and she was calling to find out why Wrath Nadeko was there. It seems really odd that she would call at that time. It's weird. It's very curious. It's very curious. I don't know. Again, maybe they'll reveal that later on. But yeah, Nadeko goes off to try to find Loomer Nadeko, and eventually goes to the shrine. She said she was looking for Loomer, and for some reason, if I was looking for God Nadeko, I would go here. And then she goes there. And that's when she finds all the body parts. Yotsuki's just scattered everywhere. Every single part. Clean cuts everywhere. And yes, technically bright light censorship. But no, she ends up putting her together. And during that process, finding a little bit about what happened. Now, yes, that's when Yotsuki reveals that she didn't just get beat by God Nadeko. They were working together. Very surprising there. Why would Nadeko, Loomer Nadeko be working for God Nadeko? It makes sense in the idea that, yes, like I said before, that should have been the first thing that she did when she first summoned them, and she could have easily gotten Meek Nadeko, because Meek Nadeko is going to do whatever the other ones say. We even pointed out with the idea of flirty Nadeko taking her outfit. And this is the curious thing. This is the other thing that was said towards the later part that just kind of stood out to me, and I read it like 5 times to try to see if I can figure out what exactly it's saying. Yotsuki says that she's seen Meek Nadeko, and she was in a swimsuit. Then we make a little joke about the string swimsuit. No, it was a school-issued swimsuit. Okay, that's fine. I like the fact that it's like, well, before you had the thought process that she was in bloomers and no top, and now that she's in a swimsuit, now you're panicking. It's like, before was worse. No matter what kind of swimsuit she's in, that's better. But no, she points out that she was in a school-issued swimsuit. And specifically, Nadeko brings up what came first. And she says it seems like that's an important thing. Like, she brings up which one was seen first. Because, yes, there's reports from Kambaru that there is an Nadeko running around without a top on. And then now we have over here, we have the, Yotsuki saying that, no, she's in a swimsuit. And now right here, Nadeko's saying, which one happened first? It seems to be important. Now she says, yes, whatever was the first one is a pervert, the one that was running around. But it's curious to actually point that out, and it does technically make sense to me. The moment that they all spread out, immediately, Yotsuki ran off to find the god Nadeko. And you would assume that she immediately went to the shrine. But kind of implies the idea that on the way there, she ran into Meek Nadeko and started following Meek Nadeko until they went to the shrine. So, unless, Meek Nadeko ran into the flirty Nadeko, lost their outfit, ran around for a little bit, found a swimsuit, then Yotsuki ran into her, that makes sense. But if a possibility that they've seen each other separately, that's the question mark. So what does it mean? And again, why is Nadeko specifically pointing it out? Does kind of leads me into that it's got to be pointed out for a reason. They're pointing it out for a reason. And there could be 2 possibilities here. One, there's 2 Meek Nadekos. Like, Meek Nadeko figured out how to split herself. Maybe Meek Nadeko figured out or started drawing and drew another apparition. The only other possibility I can see is that the one that's running around without a top on was God Nadeko running around with just bloomers. Now, why? I don't know. I really don't know, unless it's just to throw him off the scent. It just, again, it seems like it's pointing it out for a reason. And the question mark is, what is the purpose of that? Then to possibly imply there's more than one. Or, I don't know why Kambaru would lie, I don't know why somebody would lie about what she's wearing. That's all a massive question mark. But the other possibility is that maybe Wrath Nadeko wasn't Wrath Nadeko, and it was actually her, and or possibly even flirting Nadeko. One of the two of them that have already been defeated were dressing themselves up like one of the other ones. Why they would do that, other than to possibly throw them off the scent, it's all a massive question mark. But I know it's gonna be great if that has no significance, and I'm just drawing conclusions into it for no reason. But it stood out to me, so I kind of dug into it. But no, putting together was really cute. The mention of the fact that she's a friend and that like totally flusters her, and that she's super happy to have a friend. This poor Nadeko has no friends, so she's super excited to hear what. No, it wasn't just that she was excited and happy that she heard that she was a friend, but more the fact that she started getting all doki doki. Like Yotsuki turns into an Ikemen suddenly, and they have like this whole romance thing that's going on. It was dorky. It's doing a lot, so now I guess I have to question it, but I guess that Yotsuki could be fluffing her up, but I don't recall Yotsuki ever doing that before. And right here, she is technically fluffing up Nadeko in the idea of saying, well, Nadeko's questioning, well, they say that if you're around dolls are easily affected by those around it. And thus Yotsuki responds saying, well, that's good because you're a good person. So if I'm a good person, then that means that you're a good person. So it's almost like she's trying to, I guess, lift Nadeko up. And that could be in lieu of her fighting Wrath Nadeko. But she didn't know about that before then. Yotsuki at that point did not know that she fought against Wrath Nadeko. But it does seem like it's implying that she's trying to soothe Nadeko's heart and knowing that she's a good person. I guess and technically it could be in wake of learning about God Nadeko, because she is responding to that God Nadeko did something really horrible, tore her up, and Nadeko could be saying, that's me. Like if this person is a creation from me, that means that I am that nasty. And Yotsuki right here is saying, don't worry, you're a good person because you're affecting me. So it's very interesting. But yeah, she ends up asking how things went with her. She's like, crap, I have a professional before me, and she just failed. I have to be very careful about how I can say that I just took down 2 of them. I don't want to sound like I'm gloating. She finishes saying it. Don't get full of yourself. Why are you acting all modest? It's like, dang it, don't hate me, please. It was great. But yeah, that's when they bring up the fact that what's going on with God Nadeko and Meek Nadeko. And implying, again, Yotsuki implying that because they're together right now, they're working together, which is the massive question mark is why they're working together. It does seem like God Nadeko might possibly turn Meek Nadeko into a god. And I can see that possibly playing that route because technically Meek Nadeko is the original. And yes, possibly because it's not so skewed like the other ones were, like Wrath Nadeko is an exaggeration. Flirting Nadeko is an exaggeration. It's what she thinks they are. I think Meek Nadeko is the purest one out of all of them, that it's closer to her original self without having some sort of caricature that has been created in her own mind. And thus, one that can possibly become a god Nadeko. And so, yeah, I can totally see her possibly transferring her into it. But yeah, this all brings up the question mark, should we contact somebody? I like the fact that despite all of this, and this fear that's being created from Yotsuki by saying, I don't want to tell Gain because they'll probably kill you. They're going to kill the apparition along with you because you created it. You're becoming a threat. It's interesting that Nadeko actually says, but if we leave them be, this will be extremely dangerous. In this moment, Nadeko is almost kind of pointing out that I created this thing and I should take responsibility for it. She's almost willing to allow herself to be destroyed as well because it's a threat. Like, if we can get rid of this thing with the help of Gain and everybody, I might have to accept that because it's too dangerous to leave alone. It doesn't go into fully saying that, but it's almost like she's implying that, which I do find gives a lot of credit to her. Yeah, they also point to the fact that Mayoi is running around, Hachikuchi's running around. It's a good thing that she's running around because if she was there, they would steal her divinity. So there's a possibility they might actually run into Hachikuchi and have her help them out with taking down God Nadeko and Meek Nadeko. And it also kind of got into the idea that they can't really technically have Hachikuchi's help because then that would show favoritism. I did find that kind of interesting. Yotsuki's like, you don't normally want to ask the divine for help like that because it'll always come back to bite you later on. And yes, there's expectation to always serve those gods, but never an expectation that they should show favoritism to you. I don't know. I don't know that they've ever actually gotten to that kind of stuff. Like, is it a rule or is it something that can cause future problems because divine has kind of shined upon you and nobody else? Which technically Hachikuchi has helped people before. I mean, literally helped them out with Tsukihi and Yotsuki's issue with the slug. So, I don't know. Yeah, it all wraps up with the 3 versus 2. Which again, I'm really kind of curious what that whole thing meant. If it means that she can now summon them and they'll actually have to fight on our side and not run away, which would be really cool, because then it kind of implies the idea that in the future, if something happens, we're going to have Nadeko running around with, all these different Nadekos, and she's able to send them out like Pokemon or something like that. Super cool. Looking forward to the next episode. It really does feel like the next episode is probably going to be really good. I was actually looking at the list of volumes, and it does look like this is like a single volume is all this one. I didn't look into too much. I just looked at the titles and the volumes, and it looks like Nadeko's volume was like a whole volume, whereas like the Tsukihei episode, I think that was a part of one story within one volume that had like 3 different ones. So it kind of implies the idea that we could have a full core just from off season, and then possibly having like a 18 episode series just for monster season, which is really cool, because I think they said something about it being split. So really cool. That means that we're going to possibly have, it possibly could mean the next episode might be the end of Nadeko's story. I'd be very curious about that, or if it's going to be 2 more episodes. Either way, I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually more not looking forward to the ending of a Nadeko story, because I, again, really love Nadeko. So anyhow, that's my thoughts on episode 4 of Monogatari season off season. Monogatari season off season. Yes, Monogatari series off season, episode 4. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit that like button down below, comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Additionally, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe before you leave. If you like this content and you want to support the channel, I have links in the description below. Greatly appreciate it, but it does. Until next time, y'all take care.